What's up, everyone? Hey, it's everyone in the chat. People like Squanchy, Andrew Adams, Wes Walcott, Alex, Thornsey, Matthew, Sig, Wes, Beatmaster, Carl, Hungus, and others. It looks like you all have a case of the Mondays. That's right. It's Monday, January 29th, 10:03 a.m. Pacific time. What's up, JJ Carter? And we are here for January's final case of the Mondays and the final in our series about dad gaming, brought to us by Butterfinger. As a reminder, all month, Butterfinger, in partnership with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, has been helping us explore the wide and wonderful world of dad gaming, which we'll talk about more in a second. So, again, just a reminder that right now you have a chance to win the Ultimate Gaming Bundle at gamewithbutterfinger.com. We'll talk about that more later, but you get a Butterfinger bar. You go to gamewithbutterfinger.com. You use the UPC code on the back. And oh boy. Also today, we're going to give away another Butterfinger swag box. We gave one away last week. We're going to do it again this week. So keep an eye out. When that happens, we're going to give you a question. You will answer the question, and the producer Henry is going to use his deep, objective, fair, Judge Judy-esque discernment to decide who wins. And again, that's going to include a Butterfinger blue long sleeve shirt, size large, a gaming mat, 3 full-size bars, 2 bags of Butterfinger minis. Don't do this if you have a peanut thing, though, because there's peanuts and all that. So, and I think it's for folks in the contiguous United States exclusively. But we'll get into that. One more programming reminder before we really get cooking. This Wednesday, as the final part of our full month takeover from Butterfinger and Final Fantasy VII, we have a video dropping. A video largely written and conceived by one Michael Luxembourg, PhD, MD, JD, PIMP. It's going to be really great. And it's on the topic of video games and art. Are video games art? Can they be art? Should they be art? Why are or aren't they art? And how does this tie in with the exciting release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in February? You can tune in to find out. And also you can tune in to maybe win some prizes. Maybe there's a secret cipher with the secret code in the video on Wednesday. I don't know. Why would I know any of this? I don't work here. So that said, let's introduce my compatriots for this journey into the wild world of Monday malaise, dad gaming, and enjoying some Butterfinger bars. We're with producer Henry and everyone's favorite gaming dad, sage, and advice giver, Michael Luxembourg. And Lux, I think you had some comments on, the spiritual and metaphysical nature of what it means to be a gaming dad.
Yeah. So we had a comment where someone said, as a mom, I feel excluded from this or something along those lines. The first sort of immediate thing to get across is that in this context and in many contexts, dad is a gender inclusive term. It's, that's for everyone, baby. But also, yeah, there is it is a huge problem in video games that games really don't talk about moms the way they talk about dads. And that is like an authentically a problem of video games. There's increasingly the data that exists in the world indicates that sort of everyone on Earth of all demographics and all sorts of ways plays video games. And game design and game marketing and game production is just miles behind the data in that way. And then that sucks butts, if you ask me. But that's just one man's opinion. But I think I'm right about it.
Okay, there you go. So everyone out there in the world, we're going to get to our dad gaming segment in a few. That's the main event. That is the main course of this delicious meal that we have for y'all. But let's just start. And everyone in the chat, I want you in on this as well. For our case of the Mondays, let's just talk about anything we've enjoyed this week. It could be something you watched. It could be a meme or something that took place on the internet. It could be a weird thing you saw, you listened to, you played, anything like that. Let's start with producer Henry. What over the weekend, end of the week, what's something that you enjoyed?
Well, in addition to, as I've been talking it up the last few weeks, Book of the New Sun, I started the new season of True Detective, and I'm really enjoying it.
Wow. I've heard like mixed things. Initially, I feel like everyone loved it. Then I saw some people I like say some mixed stuff, but I like Henry's taste, so I'm gonna try to jump in on that soon then.
Yeah,
And let us know in the chat if you're what have you been without spoiling any what are some bullet points?
so I enjoyed seasons 1 and 3. 2, I thought was a bit of a mess. So far, season 4's kind of doing what I valued 1 and 3 for, which is there's like a tangible, tractable plot. It's not too lost in its own like atmosphere or kind of ambiguity for the sake of ambiguity, which is I think what really made that
Yeah.
second season weak. So I'm kind of just I'm following it along in that sense, and so it's got the good fundamentals of like serial TV going for it right now.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm gonna catch up on it. Wes in the chat needs to watch The Curse. Sig Bungus finished watching The Curse. Carl Hungus brought up Fallout 4. Ooh, and Carl Hungus watched Louder Milk and How to Blow Up a Pipeline. How to Blow Up a Pipeline, one of my favorite. If you watched our movie stream over on Wisecrack Live, we talked about that one for quite a bit. Highly recommended. Louder Milk, I want to watch because I love Ron Livingston. And actually, that overlaps with Case of the Mondays, star of The Office, where we get Case of the Mondays from. And I know he's the star of that. Lux, how about you? What's some media, art, or vaguely culture that you've
Well,
been enjoying the past few days?
as we were discussing before the stream started, I mostly watched football this weekend because my beloved Ravens were playing. They lost, and it shattered my heart into a million tiny pieces. And I sort of just sat on a couch being sad for several hours. But then the Lions also lost, and so everyone I was with was very sad. And they said, "Lux, we got to watch something to cheer us up." And I found a YouTube video series of Indian villagers reacting to some of my favorite movies that are not widely distributed in, or like are not super accessible to people in small villages in India. Um, and we watched two guys reacting to Return of the King or to Fellowship of the Ring, and it was one of the best things I've watched in years. It was such a joy. And you may think these sound exploitative and bad, which is a fair thing to think, but I think that actually this was very cool because it spoke to sort of the way that well articulated and well created artistic output kind of transcends linguistic and cultural barriers. It made the reactions were very sincere and very specific and very along the lines of the movies themselves. And I thought it was like really charming and moving and made me extra appreciate, what is obviously an all-time favorite thing, the Lord of the Rings movies.
Thank you.
So I loved it. Also, someone mentioned The Holdovers. I also watched that recently and it was
What a
extremely
picture.
good.
What a picture is all I have to say there. And again, if you want to hear us talk about movies, go check out our VODs on the Wisecrack Live playlist. Raymond Kramer came and joined us, and we talked about movies for a while. So if you want some recommendations for 2023 movies to check out, that sounds really good, and I want to watch those reaction videos.
They're so good, dude. They're amazing.
In terms of movies, I'm still catching up. There's a few things from the 2023 slate that I hadn't watched yet, and I watched Anatomy of a Fall this week.
Oh, so good.
What a picture. And I will say that after a lot of the hubbub on the internet last week involving reactions to the Oscar nominations, which I watched, like a sadistic child watching a car crash or burning house or something like that. It was great to see a movie that's that good. And it's just funny sometimes to watch a movie that's so good and then just think, why are we worried so much about these other movies that are fun but aren't that good? And I think, for our audience especially, even if you're thinking like, foreign language film, not for me, or like, oh, French courtroom drama, who cares? two things about this movie that I think would appeal to a lot of you. It is a movie that in many ways deals with the nature of truth, how we construct reality, how external narratives and internal narratives come together, and how there's a sort of lack of ability to communicate in an objective fashion in a way that we might want to be the case. So very, very French, some themes around, the nature of truth, the nature of reality, postmodern and existential themes. I know some of you dig that sort of stuff. The other thing, it has a good dog. It's a good dog in that movie.
There's
So,
a good dog in that movie.
yeah. And then, of course, an instrumental of 50 Cent. And again, we're not going to spoil anything, but a major theme of this film, which you might not be ready for, is a repeated instrumental of 50 Cent's PIMP.
Yeah. I was talking to people recently about movies of the year, and at least for me, and I loved a lot of movies this year, the gap between the sort of Poor Things and Anatomy of a Fall tier and everything else that I saw, even like Pipeline, Holdovers, both of which I like super loved, a lot of other stuff, like there's just like a meaningful gap in terms of like technical storytelling and ideas and characterization and specificity and style with Anatomy of a Fall and Poor Things, and then sort of there's a fall off to the really good movies.
Yeah.
I have found from this year.
I was really, struck too after watching Anatomy of a Fall. The fact that Sandra, I think Hüller maybe, or Hüller is how we say it, German actor. The fact that she's the main actor in two of the Best Picture nominees is unreal.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't seen Zone of Interest, a heavy hang, but a really important and well-made film. She carries, not on her own because there's great performances in both, but the fact that she, carries Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall and acts competently in 3 different languages. I can barely function in real life in one language, let alone act in the pictures in 3 languages, friends. Shouts to the Europeans out there. If you're in the chat, let us know how many languages that you competently speak. And here's going to be my standard here. How many languages could you go into a sit-down restaurant and competently both order a meal in and have low-level banter with your server? So it doesn't count if you can simply name a dish in another language and say please and thank you. You also have to be able to have banter with your server, like, how are you today? Oh, I was at the biblioteca earlier, and now I'm here to eat the paella, or whatever it might be. Beatmaster says 5. Clayton says 1. Christopher Pierce says 0. So Christopher just kind of grunts. JJ Carter 0.5. I think I'm with you there. We got a 2. Polyglot. Henry Lux, can either of you competently exist in another language?
Yeah, I can do okay with Spanish, and I can do okay with Spanish. I can do okay with Hebrew and Yiddish, although I have no real context for using either of those. And my German and French is, I can read it.
Yeah, I could not. I know some Spanglish and some Spanish, but I would not be confident in my survival skills.
Yeah, and I'm not like fluent in any of those. I'm just like, I could if I had to, and in some cases have like been in a position where I have to only speak Spanish to navigate a situation, or like spoken Yiddish to people who only speak that or whatever. But I'm not by any means fluent.
Yeah, I'm the classic academic type. I know we have some academics in the audience who know about that life. I've at times in my life been able to competently read, translate, do some writing in French, German, and Danish, while at the same time having almost no functional competency in those languages, such that I've been able to functionally read long works of 19th century German philosophy, but would struggle to order a meal in a German restaurant. I would say the language I probably would have the highest level of functionality with if I had to would be Spanish. Because I've just lived in a lot of places where
the same with French and German.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I know is that regardless of where I am in the world, sometimes I want a snack. I want something special. I want a treat that has a crispity, crunchity vibe that makes me feel I'm at home no matter where I am. And boys, oh boys, oh boys, oh boys, oh boys, gender inclusive. That's why we're so excited that, again, this stream and this series is brought to you by Butterfinger, who right now is doing a game with Butterfinger situation that we love, where Butterfinger is working hard to lift up creators in the gaming community. You know, they're sponsoring up and comers, they're gifting subs, they're hooking it up with early access. And we love it. We love that we can be a part of that. And of course, they're doing this right now to celebrate the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is coming out on February 29th, 2024. February 2024. It's a leap year, friends. It's a leap year. Now, here's what we want you to do. We want you to win stuff. I want you to have things. And, you know, if you're not watching now, if you're not looking in the screen, look directly into the screen right now. You deserve nice things. I want you to have nice things. I think you should get nice things. And right now, I want you to get nice things by grabbing a Butterfinger bar. Right? And just while I say this, guys, Lux is going to be Vanna White to my Pat Sajak right here, and show off the beauty of a Butterfinger bar with a lot of detail. Wait, did Vanna White do that, or am I thinking of The Price is Right?
Yeah, Vanna White
was Wheel of Fortune.
Vanna White's Wheel of Fortune.
Okay, well, still, Lux reminds me of Vanna White with his poise, grace, and elegance. Lux will be modeling while I say this, but you can grab a Butterfinger bar, okay? And why wouldn't you want to do that? They're great. On the back, there's a UPC code. You want to use that code and enter it at gamewithbutterfinger.com. Gamewithbutterfinger.com. Here's what you're entering to win. This is fun. The grand prize includes 7 winners, 7 chances to get this. You get the Ultimate Gaming Bundle. It features a Sony LED Bravia XR TV. In layman's terms, it's a big, nice TV. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Deluxe Edition, a branded gaming chair, a Hyper xCloud headset, and $500 e-check in addition to being eligible for a bunch of other awesome prizes. So we've been telling you about this all month. This is the last time I'm going to bug you about it. So do yourself a favor, grab some Butterfinger bars, get some friends over, game with each other, have a nice time, and enter to win. Now, there's another chance to win something today, like live, right here. It's going to happen in a little bit. It's our Butterfinger prize box, which includes the blue long sleeve shirt, a gaming mat, 3 full-size bars, 2 bags of Butterfinger minis. Wow. Again, I want you to have nice things. I want you to have treats. I want you to have fun. I think you deserve it. And I really mean that, okay? You know, only some of you can win this, but I hope many of you do. You know, that's what I want for you. So we're doing this, of course, in celebration of the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and in celebration of our Dad Gaming Month. So what's been going on, in case you're just tuning in, all month is that Wisecrack's director, creative impresario, gamer, sports bettor, fashion icon, dog owner, hat wearer extraordinaire, Michael Luxembourg, has been putting in the work and presenting us with video games that he thinks would be great for, you know, the philosophically inclined dads among us. And like you already said, we're using it in gender way, but, you know, dads of all sorts, all types, all sizes, all shapes, need hobbies. And he's done a really great job thus far. He's been reinvigorating the soul of someone who kind of fell off of his gaming journey in life. So today's our final segment in that. You've been doing a great job in the chat of participating. I want you to keep doing that. We really appreciate all of you being here. And please like the stream if you get a chance. It helps us out. Final reminders, not final, but reminder as well. Come see us Wednesday for Wisecrack Live. But in the meantime, I'm passing it over to our Vanna White, our, you know, person that works on The Price is Right and shows prizes, our host of a reality dating show of sorts, Michael Luxembourg. The floor is yours. What do you got for us this week?
This cool. Hold on. Oh crap! Hold on one more time.
Hey, it's okay.
We're flipping it. We're flipping it around. I'm loving the flipping this Butterfinger. Okay. So, couple things. One is that we are doing the final episode of Dad Gaming today, like Burns mentioned. As I've talked about throughout this thing, since we started, the chat has been crazy to talk about a few games that involve dads very prominently. And we're going to hit a few of those today because today's theme is fatherhood. We're getting on the nose, folks. We're getting right on the nose, hitting the nail on the head. Oh no, bad flip.
Shout out to all the other parents in the chat. Don't dox yourself, but shout out to y'all.
Yeah, but so we're doing that. Also, just to remind everyone, on Wednesday, aside from Wisecrack Live, we also have a VOD going live to about Final Fantasy games as art, all this stuff, with a cool prize to win. If you can decode a puzzle created by me, we'll see how that goes. Now, let's get to the games. We're going to start with the dad game, or the fatherhood game du jour of, I think, I don't know, these both are kind of that. But we'll start with the bigger AAA one, which is God of War / God of War Ragnarok. I'm cheating a little bit by folding them together, but it's kind of a duology. So Burns, we talked about God of War on the channel before. Do you have any sort of meta awareness of this game at all, or like?
Oh, I have some direct awareness of this game. I think this one has been so like a part of the culture that's been hard to avoid.
Yeah, exactly. So to put it into context, to really grok this game's core juice, you got to understand the way that it happened, which is God of War 1, 2, 3 came out in the 2000s, and they were like sort of the peak of 2000s action RPG style games. You were Kratos, your family got killed, you were getting some revenge, and now it's fight time. And you could use all kinds of huge weapons to kill everything around you all the time. Absolute destructo. And the people loved it. It was also extremely teen boy coded of the early 2000s, where there was a lot of like very like rare, look at that lady type of stuff happening in a way that is retrospectively kind of iffy.
Yeah, but teen boys, we were learning in the early 2000s. Teen boys we were starting to do the work in the early 2000s. So
right,
there's some
exactly.
stuff going on.
So shouts out to the Yoshi and Birdo chat, by the way, that's happening. This is very good stuff. But yeah, so that happened. And then years later, Corey Barlog, I think his name is Barlog, but I always think it's Balrog in my head because I Lord of the Rings again. But he sort of got older and was like, these games kind of reflect a very adolescent perspective on the world, and I want to make something more grown up. And so then the new God of Wars came out. And the new God of Wars are a lot more centered on Kratos having sort of given up being ultimate death machine and trying to raise a son. And it's only when that son is put in danger and that the sort of past of that son comes to light, and Kratos' role in kind of helping that son along or preventing catastrophe from befalling that son becomes necessary, that he busts out the blades again and gets back to cutting stuff up. And so there's a lot more of this game that isn't like God of War. The cutscenes were basically all in the original one. The cutscenes were basically always Kratos shows up somewhere and some huge guy is like, "You're too small to fight me. I have like a big hammer, you idiot." And then he's like, "Just kidding. I'll kill you with a sword." Then there's a fight. But in the newer ones, there's a lot more conversations between characters about what it means to be a father, about his role. His son does come from another mythology, and the intersection between sort of common themes between Greek and Norse mythology, but also a lot of stuff about, hey, Kratos, why are you so sad? Hey, Kratos, why do you care about these things? Hey, Kratos, how do you feel about your son? And the son also reacting to the father and being like, why are you smothering me? Why do you have so many rules? Why can't I be my own guy? Da, 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 da. The sort of classic papa baby relationship. And so the game is just a lot of questing, sometimes with the son, sometimes to find the son, etc. So that's sort of what you're getting with God of War and God of War Ragnarok. Ragnarok is, what's a good way to put it? Ragnarok is a little bit more of an epic story. Obviously, it's confronting the idea of Ragnarok, but it also confronts other father-son situations. You got Thor and Odin, you also have Thor and Freya. You have a lot of parental relationships. And so yeah, that's basically the juice of it. It's a big fighting game. There's puzzles, there's collectibles, big open world, wander around, look for stuff sort of game. Ultimately, it is a game though about being a big emotionally challenged dad trying to learn about your more intellectually curious and adventurous son.
That's real. I'm sure parents with older children can relate to that, but that's one of those that's an interesting one too, because I think like the theme of fatherhood and parenting in general, you can relate to that from both sides. You know, you could be a younger person playing a game like that, I imagine, from the side of thinking about the parent who tries but maybe just doesn't get it. You can also be the parent who's trying your best but feels like you're not doing enough. That sounds good. And I think there's a lot of cliche things that happen when you're a parent, but one of them is that desire to protect. So that sounds really good. I actually didn't realize there was that going on there. It seems to connect to a lot of, I feel like that's been a theme in a lot of recent media. And I know this doesn't, when it's your real son, it doesn't quite fit the lone wolf and cub trope, but it's at least adjacent to a lot of that, it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. It is playing with the lone wolf and cub. It is playing with it's obviously in conversation with things like The Last of Us, with the Mando, with the Mando, all that stuff. Dr. Cloudicus is correct. It does have a fun, different version of Thor. It's in conversation with that whole genre though, and it's got some fun turns on it. It also what's the way to put it? Plays into that stuff in a lot of really direct ways. It's really fun. It's a fun game. Plus, you get to jump around and kill a lot of stuff. I will say, as a note on this game, and something that I've wanted to talk about on the channel a lot, we never really got the chance. Christopher Judge kills it. Absolutely. Also, ProZD, I forget his actual name, is very good as a performer in God of War also. But one note I have on this game is that this game is a good example of the games criticism idea of ludonarrative dissonance. It has one of the most ludonarratively dissonant moments in any game in the world. Ludonarrative dissonance, for the chat, if you don't know, is when the gameplay evokes one emotion, but the narrative of the story evokes a different emotion, and they conflict. There's a point in the first God of War where the whole lead up to this point is Kratos being like, I'm done being a death machine, man. I'm just living my life with my kid. I'm done with it. And then eventually stuff happens where he has to get his old chains with swords on the end out, or blades on the end out. And the game wants you to be sad that this is happening, like he's giving up his happy life. But it's so unreal fun to bust out the chains and kill a bunch of things that the tension doesn't balance correctly the way you want it to.
Yeah, I'd say this game's a very excellent example of that throughout. Even if you don't like this game, you're going to have fun with it because it's full of things like, you're telling your kid you're not ready for the great journey, yet the kid is the one who serves as kind of like your objective highlight marker. So again, like mechanically serving one function that's completely at odds with sort of like the narrative intent.
Yeah, exactly so. So that's God of War. Now let's get on to our second game, which I think is one that even more people in the chat have been discussing and asking me to talk about.
Before you do that, I'm going to warn everyone right now. In between games 2 and 3 is going to be your chance to win a Butterfinger box of goodness. Stay alert. Okay, Lux, back to you.
All right. This is the one. Okay. Person in the chat, Alec, who said never liked the ludonarrative argument for the medium of video games. What medium does it? It can't exist in any other medium. Yeah, I guess maybe like tabletop games. I'm curious what you mean by that. Please elaborate, because that doesn't. I don't understand. And I'd like to unpack it because I think it's an interesting thing to say, because I do have issues with the ludonarrative claims also, but
it does.
I think it only works for video games, and I guess tabletop games in theory.
It does translate a bit to like mise en scene in cinema as far as like things coming together, but that's a different podcast. Let's keep talking about video games.
Yes. But yeah, Alec, come back with the ludonarrativity stuff. I want to engage that further. I love that business. But before we do that, this is the game I would say most talked about requested games. We mentioned dad gaming as a concept. The game is Hades. It's Hades, Game of the Year winner from a few years ago. Absolute masterpiece amongst many, considered by many people as a masterpiece. Sort of reinvigorated the genre of game known as roguelike. Even my dogs are excited to hear about Hades.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah, that's how you know it's good, is that Noodles goes buck-ass wild in the background. Okay. Also, Squanchy, you're right. Everyone should read Malazan Book of the Fallen. Those books fucking rock, or freaking rock. But let's talk Hades. So, Hades is a game where you play as Zagreus, son of Hades, lord of the Greek underworld. And you want to find out more about your mother and get out from the underworld to find that stuff out. Your big papa Hades does not want you to do this. And goes far out of his way to prevent you from doing this by putting all these challenges in your way, things like dealing with various monsters, various monsters, various bosses, various creatures. Alec, I see your comment. I'll come back to that. We're done with this one. Various monsters, creatures, various challenges in your way. You try to get out. As you do this, you meet other characters in the underworld who flesh out your relationship to them, your relationship to your father, your relationship to your mother. And also those characters reflect their relationships back towards you.
Okay.
And so that is the whole thing. The biggest thing about it, though, that is very fun and very dad gaming, aside from its thematic being very much a game about people figuring out their relationships with each other, specifically in the context of a family, the daddest thing about it is that it is a roguelike. And what a roguelike means is that you play through it over and over and over again, doing sort of similar runs and trying different strategies and getting different bonuses that carry over from run to run to run. Even if each run has different sort of like, sometimes you get Zeus powers and sometimes you get Dionysus powers, sometimes you get Poseidon powers or whatever. As you play through it, you're doing all these different runs. That means that you, as a dad, can sit down and do a Hades run that takes maybe 20, 30 minutes if you do a good job, maybe 40 if you're really killing it. And then you can just take a break. It's a really chunkable game. Because it's broken up into segments. You go around talking to people, and then you do a run where you go fight and try to escape from Hades, and then you go back and you do a run, and you talk to people, and you go to a run. So it's very easy to break up in time and sort of build around, you know what? The kid's going to be asleep for an hour. I'm going to play Hades, do one run, talk to some guys, call it a day. It's extremely manageable time-wise, which makes it specifically good for a game for dads to play, aside from being a game about dad gaming.
Wow. I like that. And people in the chat seem to be into this one as well. Is that one, I'm curious, Lux, when we talk about this, I'm curious which of these games you've ever played with your dad or that your dad has enjoyed. Is this in that category?
No. The ones that I've played with Rabbi Jack that we've talked about are Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy V, and then obviously Final Fantasy VII, which is the background stuff. We haven't talked about Diablo 4, and I don't think we will, but Diablo 4 is also a game about mommies and daddies. And I played that with my dad.
Yeah.
Diablo 4, an incredible game because it's a game where the cosmology is such that there's angels and devils, but no God, which is a thing my dad and I talk about a lot. But yeah, that's the stuff that I play with my father. So that's the Lux angle on this. We played Final Fantasy games and stuff. We never played Hades, although he has played it and he does like it.
Amazing. And I really like that bitch too, because I think a thing, again, I'm going to be one of those annoying people that's like, yeah, as a parent, as a dad, whatever. But you start like media, films, television, games, obviously, that deal with the experience of parenting just hit so much harder. For any of you who are maybe like on the cusp of becoming parents, a thing you notice too is like you cry more when you are consuming media or exploring media that deals with parenting. So this is good. I mean, that last one too, ironic to say, sounds like a game I could cry during. So I like that. Now something I'm wondering, I have a question for you all. And this question could potentially lead to nice things in your life. If you answer this question in a way that producer Henry deems to be adequate and not even adequate, exceptional, you could, go to your front door and see a package out front that includes a, Butterfinger blue long sleeve shirt size L, a gaming mat, 3 full-size bars, 2 bags of Butterfinger minis. Butterfinger minis are so much fun. You open a bag, you share them with friends. You can put them in a bowl. You get a bowl of Butterfinger minis on the coffee table. Who says no to that? And all you have to let us know in the chat for that one is, if you had to convince one of your parents, could be mom, could be dad, to get into gaming, and you're thinking of your parent in particular. I'm not asking you about some abstract, mommy or daddy. I'm asking you about your mommy or dad. What is the one game you would play with them? And your life depends on this. If you do not make them a gamer, there's going to be drastic consequences for all of humanity and civilization. In the chat, let us know, what is the one game that you would play with your mom or dad to try to get them on board? If producer Henry likes your answer, well, you're going to win something. Here's how it works too. Again, you got to be in America for this one. In the United States, there's some states, 50 of them. There was 48. We added a couple more. Maybe I got to be in the lower 48 for this though. But once Henry picks a winner, he's going to give you we're going to give you an email address. You're going to hit us up with your address. We're going to send this to you. Okay. So we're going to announce the winner after the final game. And so Henry can pay attention. He'll figure out who wins. But for now, Lux, you've done such a good job of this. And I want everyone in the chat to, I know you're answering the question right now to win some stuff, but I want everyone to send a lot of love to Lux for putting in the work this whole month for this series. I hope you guys realize Lux already does a bazillion things on the channel, truly a bazillion things. He also does a bazillion things for, our greater company, makes lots of cool stuff, also makes lots of things in his own right. So if you're in Austin, Texas, oh boy, check it out. But he put together 4 weeks of this segment, and it all comes down to this. He's done such a great job. So we'll definitely give him a round of digital applause later. What's the third game in the 4th week of our Dad Gaming series?
Just to really keep people on the edge of their dang seat.
Edge them.
Someone in the chat asked, I think it was Beatmaster asked if Last of Us was on the list for this game or for this chat. It was on the list, but we've talked about it so much, both the show and the game and all of it over the years. And it's so out there. I kind of just thought we did it. It's done. Obviously, it would be a great pick for this.
Yeah.
Also, on the ludonarrativity discussion from Alec, I saw his answer. I think that's an interesting position to take. I think, to me at least, ludonarrativity and ludonarrative dissonance are questions about how the game conveys emotion and ideas, rather than the question of how you relate to the game. It's a question of the game is an artistic, conceptual conveyance mechanism. And so where ludonarrative dissonance comes into play is when the story wants you to feel one thing, but the gameplay makes you feel another, and they conflict in a way that is confusing about what the thing as a gestalt piece of work wants you to feel. That's what I would have to say to that. I would love to keep talking about this. I really want to do a video about it on the channel one day because I think it's one of the most fascinating things there is. Because I love game design, I love philosophy, but that's for another time. What's for now is talking about our last game of the series, and that, my friends, is Final Fantasy X. This is a game about a son and his freaking dad. The plot of this game, yeah, Henry knows. The plot of this game touches on a million things. Obviously, it's a Final Fantasy game. They're always about a million things. This game also includes a sports mini game called Blitzball that over the course of my life, I've probably put upwards of 150 hours into.
It's very elaborate. Dads would love it.
Yeah. Blitzball is so much fun. Also very dad coded because you're sitting there playing sports and there's a lot of AI controlled sports stuff. And I've seen my dad yell at blitzball the way that he yells at football games. So I'm firmly convinced this is the one. But then it also has this plot where Titus, your main character, is going on a quest to figure out the sort of it gets sort of, there's a whole bunch of sci-fi craziness where you get zorked to another place and stuff gets destroyed. There's a huge ooze thing called Sin, and Titus and you, the player, through Titus, because that's how video game agentiality works, explore this magical, wonderful world to find out the answers to this. But throughout the story, you are learning more that Titus, whose father was a blitzball star named Jecht, is, first of all, was not a very good dad, and that his being not a good dad really trickled down and affected Titus's worldview. And a lot of the game is about Titus going to terms with that. And then, of course, because of the Final Fantasy game, that emotional arc ties into the sort of narrative arc, and Jecht is deeply involved with the madness of the end game and the bigger meta plot that is happening. It is a big exploration of what it means to be a father, what it means to be a son, what responsibilities there are. There are stand-in dads. There's all sorts of stuff.
Super patriarchal religion.
Lots of mythology in it. There's a whole bunch going on. And so that is, I would say, as far, and like, look, someone in the chat mentioned earlier, Barrett, Final Fantasy VII is a dad and a mercenary. There's great dad stuff in Final Fantasy VII. 6 has some dad stuff. 16 has a bunch of dad stuff. 15 has some weird dad stuff. Okay. But I think 10 is if I had to pick one Final Fantasy game to be like, this is the one about papas and babies, it would be Final Fantasy X.
Hell yeah. That, again, like, people in the comments are talking about how Lux is crushing in the chat, not the comments, but I'm excited to see the comments later. Yeah, this is good. And I think, like, all of these have sounded so good this week because, like, I like ideas, you know? I think of myself as a bit of a man of ideas. But
I'm an ideas man.
Yeah. Well, there's something that's very pathos driven about everything you're describing today, because I like the idea of these things, but there's something that is, pathetic in the Greek sense, about the idea of playing games that tie in so much to the experience of parenting. This is great. I really think for any of you out there, I think this is the week where if you weren't already convinced, you were convinced. But there's something really important I do have to say. Important announcement to Dr. Clownicus. Dr. Clownicus, if you're out there, hope you are. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to email info@wisecrack.co. No M. So Dr. Clownicus, because you won. You won. And wait, remind me, Henry, what was the game? What was the game you picked for? Tell us why he won.
He picked a very dad game, Hearts of Iron, which grand strategy. Very much, you can imagine dudes who are dads, kind of just sipping and playing it very slowly over the course of an afternoon. But I think it fits in well. Oh, Lux?
I can even attest. A dad that Henry and I know, who is a video game designer for whom we have occasionally done freelance video work, plays Hearts of Iron constantly.
Amazing.
He has 2 kids. He loves video games, and he plays Hearts of Iron all the goddamn time. So I can say from experience, from anecdotal analysis, empirical observation, it is indeed a dad game du jour and a great pick from Dr. Clownicus and Henry to select the winner.
I had
Amazing.
a dad friend / professor who I didn't even know played video games, and one day he friended me on Steam, and it was just Hearts of Iron for hundreds of hours.
Yeah. Shouts out to our dad game designer friend, by the way. If you play Tonight We Riot, it was a good game. He made it, and look out for 5 Points Mall because that game looks
Yeah.
cool.
Amazing. And then thanks, Dr. Clonicus as well. This isn't why you want the game, but thanks for hanging out for a lot of these streams and participating. It really means a lot to us. So, and just a reminder again, if you didn't win that, basically, if your name is not Dr. Clownicus, you can still win big in 2 ways. Let me tell you about how you can win again. Grab a Butterfinger bar. Grab a few. Why not? You deserve it. And once you get those and enjoy them, go to gamewithbutterfinger.com. There's a UPC code on the back of the wrapper. Lux is going to show you those now again because he is our guy. Get that bar. Enjoy it. It's delicious. It's crunchy. It's nutty. It's great. Get that UPC code. Go to gamewithbutterfinger.com. Enter it. You could be one of the 7 winners of the grand prize, which again includes Sony LED Bravia XR TV, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Deluxe Edition, branded gaming chair, a HyperX cloud headset, and a $500 each. $500 in this economy? Who doesn't need that? And you're also eligible for a bunch of other awesome prizes. So again, all you got to do, Butterfinger bar, you eat it. You got the UPC code. You enter it at the website. Get it while supplies last and get in there. We also have a big opportunity for some other prizes. I don't know. Anyone out here planning on playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when it drops next month? I bet you are. And if you watch our Final Fantasy VII video, our video on video games as art created in part by Lux that comes out on this Wednesday, January 31st, you can play by figuring out the code. There's a cipher, guys. There's a cipher. Lux made a cipher. I've learned about ciphers as part of this process. Vigneri, things of that nature.
Yes. Let's give the chat a tiny baby hint, I think.
Oh boy.
Where it's first of all, the answer to the cipher is a phrase we've said a lot of times lately, but also it's a Vigneri cipher. So it's about resetting the alphabet around a keyword. So watch the video, see the encrypted phrase, hear the key, reset the alphabet, learn the thing, go to the website, and win some exclusive in-game stuff. It's a Vigneri cipher, Vignere. If you don't know what that means, you can look it up, or I'll tell you now. It's basically taking the keyword and putting it at the front of the alphabet and adjusting the alphabet accordingly. Do that. Go find out. Watch the video on Wednesday, and you can win a cool prize. And everyone will be proud of me for putting a cipher together correctly. So please do it.
The Butterfinger is upside down though. Show it the other way too, so they see it. The proper, you gotta make it sexy.
Yeah,
you gotta make it sexy.
It's because of where the UPC code is. I was flipping it around.
Oh yeah.
But now it's this way. Everyone, now you can see that code. Nice the Butterfinger. Nice the code.
As we do some wrapping up and final notes, I want a lot of love in the chat for Lux and all the work he put in to this month's Dad Gaming segment. So just give him a lot of love. I want to see some love for him in the chat. It would mean a lot if you did. Another thing, check out that video on Wednesday. It's another way you can show love to Lux. Lux needs love. He needs your love. Give him that love. If you don't already subscribe to the channel and have the bell rung and alert set, please do that. The game is going to be coming out 10 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. So please check that out. And we just want to thank Butterfinger one more time. They've been with us all month. They're with us on this final video. It's been really fun partnering with them to get excited about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We're excited. They want to, put their effort, put their time, put their resources into supporting gaming, people talking about games, people playing games, people just dedicating their lives to the noble art. So again, thank you so much to Butterfinger. Thank you to you all for hanging out with us all month. And again, jump in, win some prizes. Gamewithbutterfinger.com. It's, as Beck might say, it's where it's at. We will be back next Monday for Case of the Mondays, brought to you by just us. In the meantime, do check out Wisecrack Live on Wednesday. We got some great topics coming up. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Do check out the videos. We put out a video on Friday about the recent scandals around plagiarism, the politics of plagiarism. Please check that video out if you haven't already. It's on the main channel. And as always, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. It means a lot. And we just hope you can recover from your case of the Mondays and have a really great week. For producer Henry, for Lux the Magnificent, Michael Burns, and we will see you all for another case of the Mondays next week.
Bye.
See you next week, y'all. Keep an eye out for that cipher.